Welcome to 502 Sessions. I'm Brian Kirby. My guest today is Emmy-nominated multi-instrumentalist, singer, songwriter, storyteller, science advocate, podcaster, producer, and publisher, and vigilant advocate for the theory of gravity, George Hrab. George has written and produced 6 independent CDs and a concert DVD, published 2 books, emceed countless science conferences, recorded over 600 episodes of an award-winning podcast, been a TEDx speaker, has performed for President Clinton, and all the time has been the drummer and musical director for the Philadelphia Funk Authority for over 20 years. George has traveled to 4 continents promoting science and critical thinking and skepticism through story and song. He is considered one of the preeminent science, atheist, geek-culture music icons currently living in his apartment. George Hrab.
My grandpa would sit me right on his knee and tell me about how things used to be. A simpler time of simpler ways. Through tears he'd tell me about the good old days. The good old days, yeah, the good old days were a special time of such note. Before all these computers and cellular phones, before any woman could vote. The good old days, yeah, the good old days, when a child could work in a mine. Their hands were the right size for gathering coal, and you barely had to pay for their time. The good old days, yeah, the good old days, when doctor essentially meant pain. They could kill you with unwashed and infected hands. Good thing soft drinks were filled with cocaine. The good old days, yeah, the good old days. A spittoon in every bar by your feet. And while spitting indoors was a luxury, at least horses could crap in the street. Saying please and thank you through World Wars I and II. A great time to be around, unless of course you had skin that was brown. The good old days, yeah, the good old days. Its legacy just never ends. Unlike most of the kids in your neighborhood, after polio killed all your friends. The good old days, yeah, the good old days, where a gentleman always wore a tie. And if you heard about someone being online, that meant guys in white hoods were nearby. Family meals Sunday nights, while many had no civil rights. Leading such devout lives, while husbands could legally rape their wives. The good old days, yeah, the good old days. It's a phrase we should be done with. Now I know why Grandpa would tear up when he spoke. He knew the good old days are a myth. Do you know how lucky you are? Do you know how lucky you are? Do you know how lucky you are? Do you know how lucky Orion used to be my favorite set of stars? Now I'm reminded of longing looks cast from cars. When I look to the sky, I just see hirsute guy and wanna go all Townsend on my guitars. Do you know how lucky you are? 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 Do you know how lucky? Explained by some as a kind of exotic taste. the appeal in eating paste. Shot for copacetic, ended up just pathetic, like the circus fat lady, one hell of a waist. Do you know how lucky you are? 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 Do you know? Why don't you learn to shave? It's a concept you could conceive. From cradle to the grave, what exactly did you achieve? Why don't you learn to shave? It might look good on you. Just who are you trying to save? What exactly do you do? What exactly do you do? What exactly do you do? My cunning dictionary has been A to Z'd, but I can't find the words sharp enough to proceed. So in its own dull way, there's one thing left to say. Seems everybody got precisely what they need. Do you know how lucky you are? 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 Do you? I remember when my little girl would play under open skies, when a day could seem as endless as a summer's worth of fireflies. Now a princess shouldn't think too hard. We all know that's true. So listen to your dad as I explain how I see you. Your daddy's little baby angel, cupcake, candy, butterfly. And though this is your wedding day, a part of me just wants to die. 'Cause I know it's the time that I'm supposed to set you free. But it kills me that the man holding your hand's no longer me. Is that creepy? You're changing from daughter to wife while following God's plan. 'Cause a woman's worth can only be defined by her man. I hope you take my love advice as a matter of course, and ignore the fact that your mom and I got a divorce. Because your daddy's little baby angel, cupcake, candy, butterfly. And though you say you want all this, a part of me keeps asking why. I know in time it'll be okay, things will all be fine. But the ring around your finger is his and no longer mine. That's why I'm crying. He's a good man that I'll barely hate. You're my baby, even though you're 38. So I'm saying, before it gets too late, you'll always have a home you can come back to. No offense, son. Your daddy's little baby angel, cupcake, candy, unicorn, daffodil, butterfly. Though I hate your leaving me, you know I'll always be nearby. Just like when I spied on you and the first boy that you kissed. And it's weird as hell that I just couldn't tell it was vaguely misogynist. Yet I still insist. Your daddy's little baby angel, cupcake, candy, rainbow, ice cream, fairy tale, starship, motorboat, picnic, fireworks, butterfly. Can you guess what has two thumbs and is inappropriate? This guy. And in the same way that a piece of dirt can make a lovely pearl, it's sad that your dear dad gets his self-worth from his girl. Oh, what a world, what a world. You'll always be my little baby, angel, cupcake, candy, butterfly. Always.
.502 Sessions, I'm here with George Hrab. George, thank you for coming back again.
It's so nice to be back. I'm so excited.
Is it?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you kidding? To do two, to know what's coming somewhat and be able to prepare for it, I'm excited.
Really? You knew it was coming?
Well, since we did it last time, was it 2 years ago? 2, 3 years ago?
Yes, probably. So it was 2016, I think.
Somewhere around there, so which has flown by unbelievably fast. But to know we're going to come back to Dedham and do some more songs. You're very kind to invite me back.
Oh, and you're kind to come. But thank you
We're
anyway.
both so kind. It's so nice.
Yeah. So let's talk.
Sure.
I never know where to start. So let's start with music, if that's okay.
Okay.
The first tune. So also, you brought a keyboard this time.
I did.
So what happened?
Oh, I started putzing around on a piano years ago. I had studied piano in college very, very poorly, and could just plunk away on some chords here and there. And about, 10 years ago or so, just thought I should have a piano in the house, just that I can play around on when I'm waiting for the microwave popcorn to pop, when I'm waiting for the coffee to be made. I can take a minute or two and just plunk around, and started plunking more and more and more, and kind of started figuring things out, and have really enjoyed trying to play jazz standards and finally write and compose songs of mine on the piano, which I never did before. So in the last, let's say 5 years or so, I've been writing on piano for me, which is a very, very new thing. So,
when you say writing on piano, have you taken some of your guitar tunes and just shifted them to piano?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you get a neat perspective on a song that has pre-existed on this instrument when you put it into the context of a piano. The stacked chords are really much easier to play in a piano. So like a chord that has a non-root note in the bass are way easier to play on piano than on guitar. So that opens up this nice palette, especially when you've written something on guitar and realize, oh wait a minute, if I put a different bass note here, that could kind of change the taste or the texture of this particular tune. Or when you're writing something new, all of a sudden you have a slightly wider palette than you might have on guitar. From my limited guitar skills to my limited piano skills, you sort of get to take advantage of it.
Will you sit down, how can I phrase this question? Do you hear a song come into your head, and then you sit down at the piano to start writing it, and then it becomes a piano song? Or do you hear a song as a guitar song and you start writing it on guitar? Or do you start on piano and say, you know what, this will work better on guitar?
There's some kinds of songs that are built on mistakes. So you sit with a guitar and you plunk a chord that you think you're going to play, and you play a wrong thing, but it sounds kind of cool. And you go, oh, okay, I didn't want to play that, but that's interesting. What could I do with it? I wanted to play that, but I did that. That's weird. What could I? And you start writing. Same with piano. You sort of like, oh, I wanted to play this chord, but I just, through sheer incompetence and fat fingers, played the wrong chord, but it's a cool chord. Take it from there. Those tend to be appropriate for the particular instrument. If I have a melodic idea in my head because I was singing in the shower or I was running and thought of something, I might think, oh, where will this sit better, on a piano, or what's the harmonic structure going to be? Is it going to work better from a piano standpoint or a guitar standpoint? Some tunes just are kind of pure enough that they work in either, but orchestrationally and then arrangement-wise, you might be able to sort of get different ideas depending on which instrument. So
hold on, slow down. So when you say harmonic structure,
right,
you mean the chord voicings you're going to use, or the way
the chords? Yeah.
So the chord changes the way they change
sure.
fluid through the song.
Again, because each instrument has its quirks to it, like on a guitar, to play parallel block chords is much easier than on a piano. To do this on a piano is like, well, black keys, white keys, I'm mixing up. This is just, you move your hand up. So that gives you a certain thing. Whereas, like I said, to play, a D with an F sharp in the bass, you can do that on guitar because that's easy. But to play an E flat with a G in the bass, all of a sudden you get this weird, it's like, oh, okay, I gotta do that. Whereas on piano, boom, boom, there it is. So it just lends itself to certain kinds of voicings.
So everything's right in front of you, it's just a matter of getting to it.
Oh, it's always a matter of getting to it, which is, like just not only jump, it's like in at the Poseidon Adventure when what's-her-name has to swim back through the, the darkened, sunken tunnels of the ship, which is upside down, and you're following that rope, and you're hoping as you're running out of breath that the rope is gonna lead to some kind of air pocket somewhere. That's what songwriting is like for me. You just like, Shelley Winters desperately hoping that you'll make it to some air pocket.
So you made it.
I sometimes make it, yeah.
Oh, do you have a notebook full of that didn't work?
I have a notebook full of ideas that I'm saving. Like they don't work at first.
That's a good way to phrase it.
And then you save them. So there's a lot of saved ideas, yes.
Very nice, very nice. Good save.
Good save, right.
So,
literally.
Let's talk about Good Old Days, because that had some interesting chords in it.
Sure.
So it starts like, is that in key of A?
It's in key of A, right.
Okay, so key of A, pretty much a folk tune at first. We have the A chord, the 1 chord, then you go to the 4 chord, which sometimes it's a triad, sometimes it's a dominant chord.
Yeah, it switches. Midway through it goes to the dominant, but yeah.
So 4/7, which is kind of unusual if it doesn't.
Again, that's kind of folky. You get that sort of D7 to A.
Yeah, but then at one point in the chorus, you do the descending bass line.
Right.
So we're in the key of A, 3 sharps. I'm sorry anybody that is getting esoteric.
This is deep dive. I love it.
So you've got the descending line A over G sharp to the descending line, boom. And then when you're supposed to go to the 4 chord, it's like an F major 7?
It's actually sort of still a funky D. It's almost like a D major 7, yeah.
Yeah, so but it sounds, because we're in the key of A, but it's got, it's not.
Yeah, so it's
functioning as the 4 chord, but it's...
Right, it's kind of based guitar-wise. Like again, this kind of a D is very pretty, and you have these E's in it, and you got like an open B and stuff, and so on piano you do this major 7 deal. Again, it's very folky, it's
right. So if you play that descending line on the guitar, though, it takes on a different...
Yeah.
And then
and that's the F major. Oh, that's the chord you're talking about, F major 7.
Right, so all of a sudden we've lost F sharp, we've lost C sharp.
Right.
And it sounds like, so it's an F major 7, but instead it kind of sounds like is that a D7 flat 9 chord with the natural 9 in it too?
Sort of, yeah.
So
Ish.
was that a okay, so now the question is, did you start with the bare bones of a folk tune and then put that in and go to the F major 7?
Absolutely.
So you had a form of just it's just a 1-4-5 chord.
1-4-5.
1-4-5 tune. It could have been an entire tune like that.
Sure. Which to me gets boring. So to me, to add to the flavor of it, where we're going to pull this out, because lyrically, it all of a sudden takes this turn where you think it's going to be nostalgic. And we're talking about how great.
Oh yeah, we haven't even gotten to that part yet.
But that's the overall concept of the song, where it's like, no, the good old days actually were not that fantastic. So this is not going to be your standard folk song. So all of a sudden, from going from these very basic chords, you go to this nice descending.
Which is nice until you hit that.
Right, we're in a very different place now, away from the folk practice, which I like. And again, it's like, then you're like, all right, what's going to be happening here? Where are we going? And it just shakes you up a little bit. So the chordal structure matches the overall message of the song of like, it's not what you expected. Because the song is not what you expected. You see a song called The Good Old Days, you're going to think, oh, it's going to be reminiscent and positive about thinking it's going to be nostalgic. And this is the total opposite, saying, no, there's no nostalgia. It was actually quite awful back then.
Well, not to mention most of your songs aren't what you expect. So.
Right. Hopefully, yeah.
I do like the fact that oftentimes you'll start with a verse. I find that missing in a lot of music.
Oh, okay.
That nice little setup. Like we could be walking down the street, look, and we start a little song.
The standard kind of verse, yeah.
That's what I mean by verse.
Yes,
I meant the verse was the up front part where,
right.
Grandpa was in it. Right.
It's like the intro.
It could be like the man and the woman just, where'd that music start coming from?
Right.
Kind of thing. So, all right, we've probably bored everyone enough now, so why don't you play a little bit more and then we'll talk about the lyrics.
Sounds good.
And I will ask if you get hate mail for those sometimes.
Sure.
All right. 502 Sessions, my guest today is George Hrab. Emmy-nominated multi-instrumentalist, storyteller, songwriter, science advocate, and everything else. George Hrab. Thank you.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
It seems like half the world's on fire, the other half is drowning.
And happiness is hard to feel when all the world is frowning. Children suffer, parents cry, and lives are torn asunder. It sometimes feels there's no relief to all the weight we're under. Bullets fly and airplanes crash and nation battles nation. And we're all doing what we can to help the situation. Now what if I told you I'd found a way to fix disaster? A simple cure to mend all ills that anyone can master. Please listen as I offer up a cure with no compunction. My remedy involves just 2 words and 1 conjunction. Thoughts and prayers. Just offer up thoughts and prayers. The perfect way to fix a mess with guaranteed success. And best of all, this effort is 100% effortless. Thoughts and prayers. Just offer up thoughts and prayers. The first and only response from you for crises old and new. It's heartfelt and it's humble and it's the least that you can do, literally. Thoughts and prayers. The perfect way to put on airs. You can announce to all without discretion this glib expression and offer up the one phrase no one ever seems to question. Thoughts and prayers. Like rearranging the Titanic's deck chairs, checking the pressure of the Hindenburg's air, buying soup for Linda Blair. So what, it doesn't solve a thing, it shows you care, you really care. Anyone can use these words, they are the best we've got. And they can solve your problems if by solve you mean not do squat. They make you feel good, and that's a universal animus. Who cares if they do any good? You get to feel magnanimous. Oh, thoughts and prayers. Like some cheap linguistic laissez-faire. Perfect pronouncements for a public display. It's just the thing to say. And by doing this, you just imply you hope the problem goes away. Thoughts and prayers. Often from billionaires. It's a kind of sacrifice, you see. Why can't we all agree? I've said 3 words, that's not enough. Just how much do you want from me? A thought and a prayer from politician or charge d'affaires. Instead of passing some legislation or a regulation. So what if you're elected? Why should you cut short your own vacation? A prayer and a thought. It's like a badge of honor you just bought. You're cashing in on all the lives that were lost, the hopes and dreams that were tossed. I think you are confusing priceless with no cost, and yet sometimes someone grabs a box and fills it with some stuff, or volunteers, or lends a hand, or does a job that's tough. You're doing God's work, they say, but somehow misconstrue it. Of course we have to do God's work, it's not like God'll do it. Oh, thoughts and prayers. I've had enough of your thoughts and prayers. My intention is not to displease, but I am ill at ease with how all your investment stops right after all your sympathies. Thoughts and prayers. I'm distraught with this entire affair. Even though my moral sense may be stinking, here's a thought I'm thinking. I pray you're never gonna have to deal with any trauma. But if you do, I'll be sending out my thoughts and prayers to you. And then you'll see how much good it'll do. I was so disappointed out of all of the people to think what you think. How could your ideas be so disjointed? Poured out glass upon glass that you casually accept and drink. Speaking in barbecue tongues, you dismiss what you taught me. Questioning stares, all look back from the books that you bought me. I was so disappointed. Throw away all the lessons of evidence weighed. Now you seem like one of the anointed. Did the governor call? Was your execution of logic stayed? Speaking in talking point rhymes, you just parrot what they find. This from the teacher who taught me to make up my own mind. Carl and Robin and Stephen and Jared might all cry. Randy and Rachie and Martin and Charles would all ask why. I was so disillusioned that the past influenced what you did try to sell, looking for weapons of mass confusion. Never thought that the target they display on you would stick so well. All the while mocking how someone could invest in that plan. Placing yourself in a corner with paint from that same can. I was so disillusioned, you resorted to tactics I'd never conceive, equating paper cuts to contusions, turning your back on all of the things we're supposed to believe. While that conversation still eerily haunts me, to think you're not exempt is the one thing that most disappoints me. Carl and Robin, Stephen and Jared might all cry. Randy and Rachie and Martin and Charles would all I can't believe what a skeptic you are. I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed. I was so disappointed.
502 Sessions, I'm back with guest George Hrab. Now, let's talk lyrics and maybe some more music. So there is kind of a thread, at least to this show, where the music's happy but the lyrics are dark. Is that, so you've got, let's go Least You Can Do. And also actually there's still Good Old Days and Daddy's Little Angel Girl,
Yes.
which kind of, that's a bit of an odd song. So let's,
Yes.
let's go backwards. So
Okay.
The Least That You Can Do.
Right.
Pretty happy, upbeat, let's tap our toes and get moving.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
That was unfortunately in response to seeing that phrase of thoughts and prayers used so much.
So whenever there's a hurricane, whenever there's
hurricane,
an earthquake,
shootings, any kind of something that could involve actual help, actual change, making some kind of a sacrifice to help people that need help, and having the response be, well, you've got our thoughts and our prayers. it just frustrated me to no end. And I thought, oh, wouldn't it be funny to have a completely ironic verse, like you were talking about having a verse of like, hey, I've figured out this problem that's going to solve everything. All you got to do is say thoughts and prayers. And it shows how ridiculous that idea is of it's just empty. It's just empty. It's nice to think positively. It's nice to have people in your mind. But when it comes to legislation, when it comes to figuring out how to help people that need help, when it comes to changing paradigms sometimes that have been stuck in government, in culture, you got to get past thoughts and prayers. And so I wanted it to be this very, it's maybe the most Tom Lehrer type song that I have. It's very Tom Lehrer, which is, I adore Tom Lehrer. Poisoning Pigeons in the Park is the happiest sounding song, but what he's doing is quite dark and awful. So it's my sort of version of a dark Tom Lehrer song. I like that dichotomy though. I love songs that upon a first listen, that they just wash over you. And you may be sad about it, you may be happy about it. And upon deeper inspection, you realize, oh, it's the complete opposite of my initial reaction. I just love that. It's like a prize inside the chocolate. You get to eat the chocolate, and the chocolate's delicious, but all of a sudden there's a little toy inside when you start thinking, oh, what the lyrics are actually about. I love that.
And we can go back to the verse for a second, because that is a very musical verse.
Yeah.
With the melody and the chord, chords going down. You could have pulled that from any Gershwin or Rodgers and Hammerstein show, right?
The chords are actually based off of a Pink Floyd song of all things.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which is interesting. And I was sort of just stuck and was kind of twiddling around, and it's inspired by a Pink Floyd song of all songs, and which I found this lovely melody for it. And I thought, oh, this is gonna work nicely as an introductory verse. So, but yeah, the idea being we're doing a show, and here's the intro to this big number, which is going to be thoughts and prayers.
And everybody's happy, yet they want to.
Yeah, hey, this guy figured it out.
Mayhem too.
This guy, right. And the dilemma was, what do I call the song? Because you kind of give away the joke.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers. If you call the song Thoughts and Prayers, it kind of kills the verse because that's what's coming. Whereas if you call it The Least That You Can Do, which is one of the lines in there, it works a little bit better as to not spoil the message. Because when that verse hits, it's like, oh, that's where he's going with it. He doesn't have a solution.
So did the concept for the upbeat tune, the interesting lyrics, kind of flash at you while you were doing something else, or was it something you ruminated over a few days?
Yeah, the idea was a flash. The idea was, oh, there should be a song about thoughts and prayers. And
so you're getting the dun, 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 that comes in?
I don't know if the feel came in. No, it was the concept of like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to just say completely ironically, hey, here's all you got to do. Doesn't matter if you're voted to, if you're an elected official. Doesn't matter if you're a billionaire. All you got to do is say this. It's great. It's great. Look how great it works. Done. That tone came in first, and then everything else is that's all details. All this stuff, that's just details. That's easy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now, do you get any feedback on these tunes?
Mostly positive. I did post
because you have
YouTube.
A certain audience.
Yeah, there is a certain audience that knows what I'm about.
Have you ever had anybody kind of stumble bum across your tune and go, this guy is...
I did. One in particular, which was actually a really great lesson for me personally, was I have a YouTube version of that song, kind of a very simple video for it. And someone saw it and emailed me and said, like, what do you have against prayer? Like, and we had this very long email exchange.
Oh my.
Yeah, it started very confrontational, and he was saying, you're a typical heathen who doesn't believe, and I know prayer works for me, and it's worked for my, and we had this back and forth.
Did you say yes, but?
a little bit. I wanted to know where he was coming from, and just sort of saying, like, what is your incentive to tell me this? Like, why do you feel it's necessary to get in touch with a complete stranger and let him know that his philosophy is incorrect? That to me is fascinating. Like, I would never, even people I know, I wouldn't say, hey, your philosophy is totally wrong, or that piece of art you made annoys me. I wouldn't bother. So that was interesting. Throughout this exchange, which was like 10 or 15 emails, I finally learned he had a granddaughter that had suffered from cancer, and she'd been in the hospital, and we ended up having this lovely, commiserating exchange of like two humans making each other feel better about how tough some things are. And he ended up conceding, like, you can think what you think, and I from the beginning conceded, if you want to pray all you want. My problem is with people in positions of power that just say they're going to pray or advise others to pray. And we came to a very lovely conclusion, which I didn't expect at all. I thought it was going to be this snark troll email back and forth. And it was actually quite lovely. It was actually quite lovely.
Let's go on to the podcast for a second, because you do get a lot of feedback for that.
Sure.
If anybody doesn't know, georgehrab.com, what is it?
Geologicpodcast.com.
Geologicpodcast.com,
Right.
And you have over 600 episodes of an award-winning podcast.
Award-winning, yes.
Over 600 episodes of award-winning podcast, so every episode's award-winning? Or,
No,
or
it's
you like
the,
to
I
think
think
so?
I would hope so in some way. Yes, I assign my own awards to my show. No, it's we got some stuff a while back. It was top 10 iTunes for a little while.
And you get a lot of feedback for that, right?
Yes.
People write to you
Yes,
all
very
the
much.
time. So that's your audience, right? So
Yeah.
if they hear The Least You Can Do, they're kind of already
They
geared
get
up
it.
for that.
They get it. It's like when I premiered it at SciCon, which
Oh, was
you
that the
were
premiere?
at, I
I
believe.
was there, yes.
I wrote that for a science conference because I had to have an opening number.
And everybody
there
will
had-
relate to that.
There had just been a mass shooting, and it was like everyone totally related. I mean, just the chorus hit, and there was this sigh of like recognition and excitement of like someone saying that, yay, and that felt really great.
Let's back up a little bit. So Daddy's Little Baby Angel Girl.
Yes.
What?
Okay.
Where?
So with the funk band,
Is that a wedding song?
well, it could be. So with the funk band that I've been playing with for 21 years, at every wedding you have your first dance, which is the couple, and then you have your father-daughter dance.
You can't tell
and
me you do that song.
We don't do that song, but we do songs that are frighteningly close to that. There are a number of songs that are kind of in the repertoire that people request for father-daughter dances that have this undercurrent of, she's mine, watch it.
Really?
Yeah, and it's disturbing.
I guess I
It's
haven't thought of it. I
There
haven't
are
played
some
too
like that.
many
Yeah,
weddings.
there's some that are, I don't want to name particular ones, but there are, and we play them great, and we play them with authority and authenticity. But when you think about what the message is, it's very possessive and misogynistic and old school kind of thinking. Now, I don't want to ruin anyone's wedding day by naming the songs or whatever, but I thought, wouldn't it be funny to write one that's just somewhat over the top, although it's not that much over the top from what some of these songs
And
are like.
it kind of has a flow to it where it doesn't start off so bad.
No.
And
Again,
you building
just,
on
you
it
get
like
you get
music.
lulled into, oh, this is a nice father singing to his daughter about having summers full of fireflies, and then all of a sudden you kind of start going, wait, what? And you realize this is a horrible dad who is putting his own wants, into his daughter's wedding day of all days, of like, remember, she's my girl, I loved her first.
Yikes.
I loved her first. And it's just, yeah. So I thought, all right, let's go over the top. Let's do it. Let's fully invest.
So the tune that I've heard that bothers me somewhat is My Heart Belongs to Daddy.
Sure.
If I can't quite recall it,
Yeah.
but I have played it and I've heard it several times, and it's odd.
It's odd. Yeah, there's a strange, that's kind of from the other side of like, yeah, it's,
Well, yeah, it is the other.
but there are a number of there's a whole industry of first dance composers. Like you go online and father-daughter dance. There's an entire industry that's just made for those kinds of songs. And I would rather play Isn't She Lovely by Stevie Wonder.
that's a
I'd
great
rather
tune.
play The Way You Look Tonight.
Great
Something
tune.
like that. That's like, okay, it's a lovely message, as opposed to, hey, remember, she was mine first. It's
And now it's time
Oh.
for Dad to French the bride.
it's like just shy of that, man. It's just this possessive thing. It's just gross. So I thought, all right, let's embrace it fully and let's write this tune. And it gets a fun response too.
All right, sounds great. Let's hear some more music.
Okay.
My guest is George Hrab. Thank you.
People ask me why I broke into a jail. It's 'cause all my friends were there. Then I preached from the roof of a Wendy's while just clad in underwear. Stole a telephone pole and then I denied it. Stole a cop car with a cop still inside it. To be clear, I was not drinking and driving. I only drank at the red lights. Then I walked out of the Walmart gingerly with steak and lobster down my tights. If if you don't believe me, you can be forgiven. You'll understand when you learn which state I live in. I am a Florida man. I am a Florida man. From Jacksonville to Lakeland, I am a Florida man. Gave a fake name to avoid an arrest. The fake name was wanted too. Was caught shoplifting at the Kohl's downtown. I was there for a job interview. Cops looked at me as if I was lying when I said the cocaine in my nose wasn't mine. Was asked to leave the park because karate can't be practiced on swans and ducks. Stole a bunch of rare coins worth $30K. The coin star gave me $30. Tried to pay for Mickey D's with weed. Tried to use my own mixtape as ID. Why? I am a Florida man. I am a Florida man. In the handle of the pen, I am a Florida man. Now don't go feeling all superior and assume I am somehow your inferior. Though my living room furniture is out of doors, please remember that my vote counts the same as yours, maybe more. Had relations with a miniature horse, but I used protection just in case. Wore a bull costume, then used pasta sauce to burn down my ex's place. Called 911 when all my vodka ran out. Attacked my family with homemade sauerkraut. Was arrested riding a manatee. Used a public library computer to print out my own counterfeit money. As you listen, there's one thing you must do, and that's believe every word of this is true. Yes, it's true. It's true. Why? I am a Florida man. I am a Florida man with a limited attention span. I am a Florida man. I was lost. The roads left did not seem right. Covered the coast with spare change picked up after each fight. Saw the path that I was bound to take. Though I checked the math, I refuse to admit a mistake. How could I know what would happen at the end of that night? Atlanta, you saved me. Yeah, you saved me. Time went fast, caught in kindness, not easily dismissed. first to the mast, when songs of sirens grow hard to resist. A captain in part, reading maps filled with ways of because. Although I had a chart, I refused to admit where I was. How could I know that my rescue was just out of sight? Atlanta, you saved me. Yeah, you saved me. Atlanta, you saved me. Yeah, you saved me. Past paths more pathetic than the forest before us. To think it's synthetic for someone to adore us. Though I found the trail, though the sands had all shifted, overwhelmed by the weight of the load that was lifted. Suddenly, all the words that used to weigh me down get to be the same words lifting me off the ground. How could I know that my falling would turn into flight? Atlanta, you saved me. Yeah, you saved me. Atlanta, you saved me. Oh, you saved me. Yeah, you saved me. You saved me. You saved me.
.502 Sessions, my guest today has been George Hrab. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You're welcome, you're welcome. 502 Sessions is all about original music, so if you're a musician and you have a lot of original material, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm at 502sessions@gmail.com. I check out all links and I respond to emails. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You don't know what you think you know, what you think you know is often wrong. You don't know what you think you know, but you could know what is in their song. You don't seal in juices by searing meat. You don't get headaches from too much MSG. There's a 50-day shelf life for each Twinkie, though you probably thought they'd last an eternity. The historical Buddha was not a fat guy. Sharks can get cancer before they die, and though some textbooks say it's true, the blood in your veins is at no point blue. You don't know what you think you know, what you think you know is often wrong. You don't know what you think you know, but you could know what is in this song. Let the meat cake was never said by Marie Antoinette. Marco Polo did not bring home spaghetti. Just because dogs pant doesn't mean they don't sweat. The pads on their paws get a teeny tiny bit wet. Bats are not blind, they have limited sight. Did you know Napoleon was of average height? The Chevy Nova was a hit and it sell, in Mexico and Venezuela as well. You don't know what what you think you know. What you think you know is often wrong. You don't know what you think you know, but you could know what is in this song. Edison did not invent the incandescent light. Ford did not invent the car or build the first assembly line site. And how about James Watt? Did he invent the steam engine? Not. And though I know that you say it, that you swear you've seen it, George Washington Carver did not invent the peanut. You don't know what you think you know. What you think you know is often wrong. You don't know what you think you know, but you could know what is in this song. Sugar does not cause hyperactivity. Glass does not flow super slowly. Rust does not cause tetanus. You see, if you want to wake a sleepwalker, hey, feel free. Hair doesn't grow thick after it's shaved off. Cough medicine rarely ever helps a cough. Folks go on and on about the Parthenon, but the golden ratio was never ever drawn. You don't know what you think you know. You don't know what you think you know, but you could know what is in this song. Albert Einstein never failed a single math test. A cop doesn't have to say he's a cop if he's pressed. Milk doesn't cause phlegm to come up out of your chest. Lemmings don't kill themselves, who to guess? It's okay to crack your knuckles, no damage will be done. You can taste everywhere on your tongue. Let me say one thing that no one can rebuke. A vomitorium's an exit and not a place to puke. You don't know what you think you know. What you think you know is often wrong. You don't know what you think you know, but you should know what is in this song. Marconi did not invent the radio. Did Thomas Crapper invent the flush toilet? No, no, no. But using their brains and persistence, they improved stuff already in existence. And yet, for some reason, this myth remains that human beings only use 10% of their brains. Humans use 100% of their brains. Humans use 100% of their brains. Please stop saying humans only use 10%. Seriously, if there's one thing you should take away from this silly song, it's the very simple fact that humans use 100% of their brains. Key change. You don't know what you think you know, but now you know what you think could be wrong. Now you know what you think could be wrong, cause you listen to all of the stuff in this song. And now we're all slightly less wrong. Good old days, yeah, the good old days were a special time of such note. Before all these computers and cellular phones, before any woman could vote. The good old days, yeah, the good old days when a child could work in a mine. Their hands were the right size for gathering coal, and you barely had to pay for their time. The good old days, yeah, the good old days, when doctor essentially meant pain. They could kill you with unwashed and infected hands. Good thing soft drinks were filled with cocaine. The good old days, yeah, the good old days, a spittoon in every bar by your feet. And while spitting indoors was a luxury, at least horses could crap in the street, saying please and thank you through World Wars I and II. A great time to be around, unless of course you had skin that was brown. The good old days, yeah, the good old days, its legacy just never ends. Unlike most of the kids in your neighborhood, after polio killed all your friends. The good old